Hi. Hi, friends. It's Saturday, January 11th, 2025. As always, I'm so glad to have this time to be here with you today to discuss the current astrology, astrology in general, and any questions that you might have. Today, I wanted to focus primarily on the nodes transition into Pisces and Virgo. It hasn't happened quite yet at the moment that I took the screenshot of this chart, which is 7:29 a.m. Eastern Time, just a minute or two before I hit go live. Maybe you can see that it's snowing today here. Perhaps you can see that out the window. Maybe I can move this for a second to give you a better view. um, it's nice to look at the current chart, but it's nice to have that backdrop of the snow here as well. How is everyone doing today? I feel like this shift of the nodes into Pisces Virgo is so significant. It is the start of a 19-year cycle, a 19-year path of the nodes through the zodiac. And we're not used to things starting in Pisces, right? Aries is the start of the zodiac, but the nodes travel backwards through the signs. They move the other way. The nodes are invisible points in the sky. They're, when we talk about astrology, often you'll hear people use terminology where we say planets and points. And the nodes are one of those points. What they are is indications of where, I'm just going to get them circled for us on here. What they are is invisible points in the sky that show where the eclipses are happening right now. And they take about 18 months to go through each sign. So we'll have a series of eclipses roughly in the same area of the sky for about 18 months. And then it will move to the next part of the sky and around it goes. So all of the planets move one way through the chart, and then the nodes move the other. So the nodes are about to shift from Aries Libra, where they've been for 18 months. Yesterday's report focused on wrapping that time up and sort of reflecting on it and thinking about it a little bit. I'm going to get more of the snow in the picture. um, and sort of reflecting and thinking about it a little bit. And so today we're going to focus on the transit of the nodes through Pisces and Virgo and what that signifies as we're moving forward. Oh, happy birthday. Happy solar return. As we say, right? Your sun has come all the way back around. I'm seeing someone in the chat who said it's their birthday, and I got distracted. The other day I was kicked off of the live stream unexpectedly, so now I now I want to jump in with comments right away. Yeah, your sun, when it's your birthday, your sun has returned all the way back to where it was at the moment you were born. So it's a great day. The reason I love the alignment of making a wish on your birthday. That's very astrologically aligned to do that, because it's like that sun being back where it started. It sort of gives us a little more um, of the year of the planets at the time of our birthday. Yes, I wish that for you as well. Sending you good vibes for that. Happy solar return. Happy birthday. And the nodes are shifting on your birthday. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about what this feels like, these nodes in Virgo Pisces. Okay, so I love the time of 18 months. I think it's such a good amount of time. It really gives us a chance to thoroughly work with these new signatures. And so it's 19 years. Well, it's 18 months in each sign as we go around. So that means that by the time we come all the way back around, it takes 19 years. So that's why it's a 19-year cycle. So depending on how old you are, you might want to think back to 2006 through 2008. Those are the last times that the nodes were in this part of the chart. What was going on for you then? What were some big sort of themes in your life? If you know your chart, it would be helpful to know what planets and points you have in that part of the sky, and what house uh, that those sectors, those signs rule, and pay and sort of tune into that to think about it. But even if you don't, just sort of considering 2006 through 2008, and it's sort of interesting to consider like how those themes could be surfacing again, but in sort of a more elevated way, in sort of a more next level way, now that you're older, now that you've gone through an entire wheel of the zodiac. And also to think about how you can meet those challenges in an elevated way, how you can handle them in a sort of higher way compared to how you did the last time. That's always a great thing to think about when we're working with these larger cycles. Okay, so in general, there's so much like mysticism and surrender and intuition and all of that coming in with the North Node moving into Pisces. It's such a powerful signature with the North Node, this planet that is like our direction, our focus, where we're headed, where we're going, what we need to bring more in of. That moving into such a open, watery house, it is a very, very cool signature. And then Virgo, I feel like the letting go of the more lower expressions of Virgo energy, which is what tends to come up where we have the South Node. It will tend to, will be wanting to release the sort of lower expressions of that signature as best as we can. And so that with Virgo has to do with perfectionism, letting go of perfectionism, letting go of overdoing, over planning, being too detail oriented. So overall, it's a very interesting signature. Let's go one at a time and be a little bit more specific. I'm looking at my list now. The North Node in Pisces is about surrender. And I think that that word surrender is often misunderstood. I talk about this a lot in my January horoscopes. If you'd like to check that out, where I read, look at them for, watch those for your rising sign. If you know your rising sign, and I get into a little bit more detail about the nodes for your specific placement. If you check out those January horoscopes on my channel. But one thing I said in many of them, I'll say again here, which is that like, I think that we hear the word surrender and it sounds like we're losing power. I mean, we use the word as sort of synonymous with defeat, right? Like waving the red flag, giving up. And I just don't think that that's the case. Surrender isn't about letting go of control. It's about just doing things differently. Instead of listening to the guidance system of our logic, which often was put there by different conditionings, whether it was different part of our society or institutions that we belong to or our family. Sometimes our thoughts can actually really lead us astray. We need to use logic in its place, but we also need to know and listen to intuition, our inner voice, that guidance system. And I think when I say surrender, that's actually what I mean, right? Tuning into that intuition. This is a big part of the North Node in Pisces. Inner voice, sort of trusting life in that way, trusting that you can sort of flow with life, that you don't have to plan everything, try to control everything. You can sort of flow. North Node in Pisces is helping us to work with deeper levels of compassion, with deeper levels of creativity very creative sign, very out of the box, and that goes so nicely with listening to inner voice. Helping us to go a lot deeper with our spirituality, incredibly spiritually connected house. So I think that during the time of the North Node in Pisces for the next 18 months, there's opportunities for emotional healing, real emotional healing of old stuff, new stuff, our own stuff, relationship stuff, all the emotional stuff. I think there's a real potential to dissolve boundaries. And that can be in a spiritual sense, that can be in a interpersonal sense, that can be in a creative sense, right? Merging with things in a deeper way. I love this concept of how when we love something, it sort of makes us bigger, you know? It sort of is reminding me, I feel like it's connected to sort of or I sort of initially encountered this idea as a part of the Buddhist concept of nonviolence and of doing no harm, of refraining from, harming life in as much as we can. And I think part of the idea behind that, once that I heard, that really resonated with me, that I'm passing on here, is maybe a part of the North Node in Pisces thing, is this idea of it's partially because it expands us. When you love something else, like say you see a bug that's in some sort of jeopardy, and you save that bug, you move it out of harm's way, you feel good for that bug. You sort of feel bigger. You almost kind of go into the bug for a second. You feel a little expanded, right? Just like when we love another person, we care so much about them that we can live through them. Their highs are our highs, their lows are our lows. It makes us bigger. But when you hate, when you push away, when you harm, you make yourself smaller, because you're saying this is where I end and this is where you begin. And it sort of it brings us in more in a bad way. So I think letting those right relationships in, letting those boundaries down where appropriate in relationships, where appropriate with our creativity, to let in inspiration and a whole new level, to just get bigger, to allow our expression to be bigger out in the world. I'm hoping that that can be a part of this experience for us. Um, yeah, connecting with something greater than ourself is what I wrote. I feel like that really goes with what I was just saying about the dissolving of boundaries. Okay, so the South Node in Virgo resonates with this very nicely, but is also quite different, but it really goes with it really nicely. I think that we're learning to release control, right? Release criticism. And wherever we have South Node, the idea of release, letting go, moving past, putting down, releasing control, criticism, perfectionism, releasing overdoing, overanalysis. Virgo really likes to be on top of everything. And there's something that happens when that can be put down just a little. Because it can be sort of a lower expression of Virgo, right? A higher expression of Virgo is like service, really being there for others in a very practical way, right? But the lower expression of that can be like overanalyzing everything and getting sort of caught up in the details and being a perfectionist, maybe being critical, releasing that side of it. Yeah, I just kind of said a lot of these things, letting go of focus on details, of over focus on details, of over analysis, embracing bigger picture, right? And instead of those details. I wrote be instead of do. And I think that that really goes for both sides of this change. Maybe we're learning to be a little bit more instead of just do. And not that we're doing less even, but we're just like moving through it in a different way. Yeah, we're just sort of learning to put down the old ways of navigating the world. I think that there's something that was freed up through that transit through Aries and Libra, like we talked about yesterday. We learned better boundaries with others. We learned how to care for ourselves better. And there's something so appropriate about this time coming in on the heels of that. So I think that that's all for today. I'm looking at my comments and I don't really see any. I've noticed that these go up a lot easier if I keep them under 20 minutes. So maybe I'll just give you another shot of the snow before I go, because it is quite lovely this morning. Sorry, the cord of the phone that I'm recording on is a little bit stuck. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'll be back tomorrow.